I'm sorry if I'm being too specific. Can we start by explaining like what is an infinite being? What does it mean to function as an infinite being?
Well, number one, be as specific as you want. And if I can't answer the question, I'll let you know. But number two, the thing about being an infinite being is, like, in a lot of the metaphysical and spiritual work that I did prior to coming to Access Consciousness, they would say, you're an infinite being. When I would say, hey, how do I handle my money problem? You know, I'm really tired of struggling with money. And they say, you're an infinite being, so it's okay. And I'm like, wait a minute, wouldn't an infinite being at least be able to pay rent? Wouldn't an infinite being be happy, you know? And I wasn't asking for much. I just wanted to have some ease and be happy. And so what I realized is most people have no idea what being an infinite being would be. But if you look at an infinite being would know infinitely, they would perceive infinitely, they would receive infinitely, and they would of course be infinite. So it's the perceiving, the knowing, the being, and the receiving that an infinite being has. And so, but what we see functioning around us, it's no wonder that nobody has a concept for that, because nobody around us is functioning from that. You know, we're functioning as hugely finite, hugely limited beings. And one of the things that Access does is it starts to pull apart those limitations that you bought as real and true. So what is actually true for you, which is being an infinite being with infinite choice and infinite possibilities available, starts to actually become your reality, starts to actually become a choice that you have available. You know, for me, once again, I did a lot of personal development work, you know, spiritual, metaphysical, and everything else I could find, psychological, and nobody ever addressed what was true for me as a being. They would tell me about the color of light I needed to swirl through my body to make a connection with the universe, and which was like, well, cool. What about me? Like, where is the actual being that I am involved in this conversation? And most of the time it wasn't. And so what I would love to see is a different conversation, where if we recognize that there's something fundamentally greater about us, how do we access that? How do we actually live as that? It's one thing to know that there's something different, you know, or have this idea that there's something different and it's out here, but you can never get there. Well, that's discouraging, you know, that's depressing. And one of the other interesting things is, you know, people talk about their higher self. And for me, I'm like, well, if you keep putting that as your higher self and you're somehow a lesser self or a lower self, that's bullshit. No, you are your higher self. We need to end this separation. So a lot of the concepts that we've been given are really, they're absolute crap. And I say it with such intensity so people will actually listen, you know. I don't really have that much charge on it at this point. But it's like we've been given so many concepts that are designed to create a separation and prove that we're limited. What if we're not? What if we're miraculous? And what if that's the thing we haven't been willing to be?